On this episode, we chat to Pailin from Hot Thai Kitchen about the role Thai food plays in promoting Thailand overseas.
So if you're a fan of Thai food, and let's be honest, who isn't? Get ready to dig in to this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who always somehow manages to say Thai words with the wrong tone, making me sound like a pervert.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract almost 18 years ago. Before we start the show, I want to say a quick hello to our kind and generous patrons who help keep the Bangkok Podcast going. Patrons get a lot of cool stuff, but the most popular is our weekly uncensored bonus episode. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about creepy crawlies, all the types of insects, bugs, mice, lizards, expats might run into here living in the Big Mango. If you want to be one of the cool kids, just head to bangkokpodcast.com/support to find out more.
Right on. Yeah, I've had a particularly interesting week when it comes to vermin and bugs. So Ed, let me ask you something. Do I sound particularly good this show, particularly saucy, handsome?
I would say your voice sounds crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Well, I'll tell you why, because before we recorded this show, I had always had a mic stand on my desk, which means I have to lean forward into the mic stand, and it's not the most comfortable way to record. But now I have this swanky new mic arm, so I can sit back in my chair and sort of bring the mic to me, so to speak. And to install this mic arm, I had to drill a 7/8 inch hole through the top of my desk for the mic mount. But I don't have the tools to do that, so I just wanted to start off by giving a quick shout out to a company called Call Charlie. And my buddy David is the owner of it, and he does all kinds of handyman projects. He's fixed my tiles before. He's helped fix my wooden floor, stopped it from squeaking. And I think for foreigners, it's a real relief to find a handyman company run by a foreigner.
Oh wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, because when you're describing a lot of the problems that you want fixed and how you want them fixed, I think there's a lot of nuance that gets lost. Even if you speak Thai, you don't know these like slight nuances that you need to describe. So unless you have someone with you that really understands what needs to be done, it's hard to do that with a Thai speaking construction fix-it guy.
No doubt.
Yeah, so to find one that is a foreigner who speaks English is really nice. So if you're looking for something like that, folks, just go to Facebook and search for Call Charlie. The logo is a little red suited handyman dude, and give them a call. They can do all kinds of fix-it stuff. So I'm really enjoying my new mic stand here, and
that is a very good thing to know. I will remember that.
It sure is. So there's my shout out for the show.
I've actually got a quick shout out myself. Recently, I was a guest on a friend of mine's podcast. It's kind of a unique situation. A buddy of mine from my hometown in Ohio was here in Bangkok, and I was a guest on his podcast. He's got a podcast called Jim's Reinvention Revolution, and his podcast is about people reinventing themselves in kind of a digital media age. We talked a lot about Bangkok, so it's my guest, my spot as a guest was mostly about being an expat here in Thailand. So I thought it's suitable for our listeners. So if you got a little extra time, check out Jim's Reinvention Revolution, a very good podcast.
Well, speaking of being guests on the podcast, this episode we have a really interesting guest, and this was actually suggested by a listener named Maxim, who asked if we could do a show on Hot Thai Kitchen, a very popular YouTube cooking show run out of Vancouver, BC, which is where I grew up, my backyard. So I'd heard of Hot Thai Kitchen before, but I'd never really watched it. So I checked out a few episodes, and damn if they are not really, really good. So I got in touch with Pailin, who hosts the show, and happily she agreed to come on as a guest. So we had a lovely chat about sort of like the role of Thai food overseas, how it acts as kind of an ambassador for Thailand and Thailand culture, and some of the misconceptions and assumptions that foreigners overseas have about Thai food and Thailand itself. It's a really fun conversation. So here we are with my chat with Pailin of Hot Thai Kitchen. Well, we are very happy to have on the show this week Pailin Chongchitnan. Did I say that correctly?
Almost,
Oh,
almost,
pretty
except it's
close.
a P with a paw pan.
Oh man, I was P and B. Well, Pailin, you have a very popular Thai food cooking show, and one of our listeners, a buddy named Maxim, he suggested you as a guest. And I've heard of your channel. I've known of your channel for a long time, but I don't do a lot of cooking at home, and my computer is not even remotely close to my stove. So I'm ashamed to say that I've never really used any of your recipes, but a lot of people have.
Yes.
So we're having you on the show to talk about Thai food overseas because you are based in my home country, the beautiful Canada.
Yeah, and almost your city too, Vancouver.
Yeah, you're in Vancouver. I grew up on the West Coast when I was a kid, so I'm familiar with Vancouver. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, and if it was cheaper to live there, I think I might live there.
No, tell me about it. It's a struggle.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your YouTube channel for a bit because can you just give me an indication of why you started, when you started, and how did it become such a big thing?
Yeah, so I started way back in 2009, back before YouTube was a thing that it is now. And
Okay.
I was in culinary school at the time. I was living in San Francisco. And I was on this path of becoming a chef. I'd worked in restaurants and I was going to culinary school, and that was like, I'm going to be a restaurant person. But deep down, I had always wanted to have a cooking show. Like that was my real dream. You know, I grew up watching Jamie Oliver and Nigella Lawson and all these famous chefs, and I had always desired to do what they were doing because I just thought, man, that just looks like so much fun, and it's exactly what I wanted to do. But at the same time, it's like, how do you become a Jamie Oliver? You know, like
Right.
it's just not a career path that you can, where do you even begin, right? So I thought,
Right.
well, at least I can do the cooking part. At least I can cook. So that's kind of why I went into restaurants. But then when YouTube came along, all of a sudden you can have a cooking show. You know, all of a sudden you didn't need to be discovered or to apply to a network. You can have your own cooking show. And I jumped on it. My brother suggested the idea because I just kept dreaming about it. I kept talking about, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a cooking show? And he said,
Right.
you can do that now. Just post it on YouTube. And a handful of people had started to have shows on YouTube. And the idea just like, I jumped on it right away. Like it was like, oh my God, this is possible. And without hesitation, without doubt, I just jumped on it. And I chose Thai food. I mean, there were other ideas at the time. Like I thought, okay, I'm going to do a cooking show. Like what kind of food am I going to do? And there were other ideas, but I really wanted to come back to Thai food because I felt like after having left Thailand, at that point, I'd been away from Thailand for about 5 years. I really realized that people didn't know Thai food and that whatever Thai food was available in North America was not the Thai food that I know. And I felt
Right.
this need to let people know that it is better than what you think it is. And there's a lot more to it.
What year was this when the show started?
2009.
2009. Okay. Okay. So I had been over here for a while then, but my experience with Thai food back in Canada was that it was really expensive.
Yeah, which surprises me to hear you say that.
Does it? Is it not expensive anymore?
No, I mean, I think all across North America, it's inexpensive takeout category for most Thai places.
Really?
There are a couple of places now that are like the hipster Thai restaurants that are pricier. But generally,
Wow.
Thai food is anything but expensive over here.
Well, I'll tell you, when I moved to Thailand, at the time I was living in Canada, this was 2000, 2001, and there was two Thai restaurants, and the one that was closest to me was called The King and I. And if you took like clients there or a date there, you were out 50, $70 for two people, which was really expensive at the time. So that's why I'd
Yeah.
never had Thai food until I came to Thailand because I was poor. But that's great that you talked about the sort of like the democratization of things with technology. And it's the same with a podcast. I've always grown up listening to the radio, and I thought it'd be cool to be behind the mic. And suddenly podcast came around, and I was like, yeah, all right, here I am. I got my own radio show now.
Yeah, so, and I think it's done that for a lot of creators.
That's great.
A lot of creators who are now what we call creators. You know, these people would have never had the opportunity without the technology that we have today.
Right. Well, you seem to be harnessing it and doing pretty well. You've got about 500,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel.
I do.
Which is pretty fantastic. Yeah.
A lot of people that love Thai food around the world.
Who doesn't like Thai food? You got to be a nut bar to not like Thai food. Because now, speaking of this, I can only think of a few national foods that are so distinct as to sort of act as kind of like an ambassador for their home culture. Of course, you have like Italian food, you have Indian food, Vietnamese, Japanese, maybe Middle Eastern, but that's a bit more broad. And Thai. So what do you think about that? Do foreigners gain a better understanding of Thailand through your channel and through Thai food in general?
I think, that was one of the things that struck me when I first came here is I would tell people, hey, I'm from Thailand. And the very first thing, and probably the only thing they would tell me is, oh, I love Thai food. And it was automatic. I'm from Thailand equals I love Thai food. And it was the only thing I think they had to connect with. Like it was the only one thing that they knew to respond to that question because there's so few Thai people here. So they feel like, oh, this is interesting. I should say something in response. And the only thing they know is Thai food. And after a while, I kind of got tired of it. I was like, what is it with is this the only thing people know about Thailand? Like, is food the only thing people know about Thailand? And it kind of frustrated me a little bit because I think it makes Thailand, it's almost a caricature of Thailand. It's like Thailand equals peanuts and cilantro and lime.
Like Thai food is a legit thing that Thailand is known for, but through the lens of a Westerner, it's such a narrow lens. Like you said, peanuts and cilantro, and that's it. That's Thai food for you.
And I think it makes people think they know Thailand because they go to a Thai restaurant, they see all this artwork and, pictures of the king and the queen and they know the food, but do they really know Thailand? And the answer is no. Like you know a slice of Thailand, and I think that's why in my videos, even though we are strictly talking about food, I always kind of put it in context. I try to talk about the dish, where it's found, how you eat it. I insist on the fork and the spoon because gosh darn it, the number of people who think we use chopsticks. I really insist on things like that because I want people to realize that there's more to Thai food to Thailand than what they see at their local Thai restaurant.
That's right. And there's nothing us jaded expats love more than watching a Hollywood movie that takes place or partly takes place in Thailand and they whip out some chopsticks at a table. You can almost hear people in the movie theater like, boo, that's not how you do it. You don't understand anything.
I know. When I first came here, one of the things that frustrated me most was restaurants who would put fork and a knife on a table setting in a Thai restaurant. And I said, what are you using the knife for? Nothing. There's nothing in Thai cuisine that needs cutting. Everything's already cut up for you. But so people just end up using the knife to push things onto their fork.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which is the least efficient way of doing it.
I've got a very funny story about that. Years ago, an elderly friend of mine got married to a Thai woman about his age, sort of mid-60s. And they're a lovely couple, and they had a big wedding down in Hua Hin. And she invited all of her family down, and they were all from the farthest reaches of Isan. And they came down for this lovely wedding, but it was a Western-style wedding, and they had to be taught how to use a knife and fork to eat the steak and things like this.
I used it wrong for the longest time. Okay. I came in and one day somebody said, you use that knife interestingly, you use it differently. And I said, really? How do you use it? So definitely there are two sides to the coin there, but I feel like Thai restaurants, at least, has the responsibility of representing Thai culture in that way. But I think I see that a lot where instead of the Thai restaurants feeling like, you know what, we're going to be ambassadors of Thai culture and Thai cuisine in Thailand and show people how we do things here, they do the opposite. They think, let's just make it as easy for people to get used to this. Anything that's unfamiliar, let's just get rid of that. Let's give them a knife and a fork so that at least they're not confused by the spoon. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're trying to sort of simplify Thai cuisine in order to make it more palatable, more easy to get used to. And I think there was a time back in the day when that was necessary. When people would be too weirded out by it. But I think today, the average diner, at least in North America, is so much more open-minded and so much more adventurous that I think they would be offended if they knew that the restaurant, you know, quote unquote, dumbed down the stuff for them because they didn't think that they would be able to handle it. I think they would appreciate restaurants that actually do things right and then take the time to educate people about it.
Right. Years ago, my wife and I were in Canada, and we were in Penticton.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's in a little town in the middle of British Columbia. Lovely little place. And an old high school friend of mine lives there, and she took us to her favorite Thai restaurant in town, which is not a big town. And it was brutal. we ordered tom kha gai, and they instead of using coconut milk, they used cream of mushroom soup.
No,
and you know, there was
that's hilarious.
Random pictures of rice fields that were clearly Vietnam, and you know, it was,
with people in the cone hats.
Yeah. You know, and my wife like was so polite, and they're like, "What'd you think of it?" And she's like, "Well, it was definitely food." You know, like, "Oh yeah," you know, like, how do I respond to that question? But it was horrible, and it was they were adapting Thai food to fit with what locals think Thai food is, rather than the locals adapting themselves to what actual Thai food is.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but I think the tides are changing. I think I really see a lot more sort of restaurants that are taking bold moves. Like, I think I don't know if you know much about the Thai food scene in Portland, which is not too far from here. It is booming, and it's booming with a lot of really interesting things. There's a khao man gai restaurant. Like, there's a restaurant that's starting to specialize in specific types of Thai food. And that's another thing. When you see a Thai restaurant here, it's always this generic Thai restaurant. It's never any specific kind of Thai restaurant. It's just a Thai restaurant. And it has the same thing. It has the red, yellow, and green curry. It has a bunch of stir fries, so on and so forth. Whereas, you know, in the Western restaurants, you've got all sorts of specialties, right? So now in cities like Portland, there are beginning to be specialty Thai restaurants, like the khao man gai place. There's a Hat Yai fried chicken place. And there's a place that specializes in Northern Thai cuisine. So this is beginning to happen slowly but surely. Yeah, not even in Vancouver. There's a couple of places that are starting to be a little more specific with the kind of food they offer. Yeah, so I'm hoping that this will spread. It will. It just takes a little time.
But are these places like cheap places to go now, or are they starting to get some of that exclusivity back?
They're hipster prices is what I like to call it, which is it's not cheap, but it's also not too expensive. Like, it's kind of in the middle of expensive and cheap. It's interesting. It's some people complain that these quote unquote hipster places are expensive, but because the style that they offer, it's very casual. Like, you know, it's khao man gai, it's fried chicken. It's very casual sort of takeout place, but they do it better. They do it with better quality ingredients. So they charge a little bit more with better service, but people are still looking at it as cheap takeout kind of food. So they expect cheap takeout kind of prices.
Right.
So I think they struggle a little bit to justify that, to trying to get people to realize that this is not like, you know, the mom and pop shop around the corner. Everything is better and their costs are higher. So they're in that weird no man's land of prices. Like, you know, a person might spend $12 for a meal there, which for takeout is expensive.
Man, I've been gone so long.
You don't
My
even know what
association with
$12 means anymore.
when I was living in Canada, like $12 for a meal was outrageous. I'd eat for $5, $6 kind of thing. But yeah, I
Oh
guess
no.
the whole overnight.
Now people I think in Vancouver would spend like for just like a lunch on a weekday, $10.
When my wife and I were back in Vancouver a few years ago, we went up to Tofino, which is a very
Yeah.
touristy place, and we dropped $100 on lunch for two of us, which was brutal.
Whoa, that's brutal.
Yeah. Well, speaking of those kind of like using chopsticks and things like that, those stereotypes. What do Canadians and sort of foreigners in general? What stereotypes do they have about Thai food?
Gosh, the one thing that just drives me up the wall is peanut sauce. Peanut sauce.
Oh, really?
Out the wazoo. There's Thai peanut sauce everywhere. And I don't know where the stereotype comes from because this is something that surprised me is peanut sauce, like in Thai cuisine, like the only place that I can think of quickly anyway that we use peanut sauce is with satay, right? We eat satay with peanut sauce. And sure, we use sauce with peanuts in a few other dishes, but they're not common dishes. But here, it's sort of like people will put peanut sauce over pad thai noodles and make this sort of like peanut buttery noodle dish. And there's bottled Thai peanut sauce in every grocery store. It's just a bottle, like, with your salad dressing and all that stuff. And it just says Thai peanut sauce for generic use, like a ketchup. And so I think because of that, foreigners, a lot of people, at least in North America anyway, have this idea that peanut sauce is something that Thai people just put on stuff, like
Right.
like a prik nam pla, like a fish sauce and chilies, like they just have peanut sauce on the table that they sprinkle on things, which is anything but the truth. And it's also funny when I go to a Western restaurant and they have something Thai on the menu, and they often do. There'll be like a Thai pizza or a Thai chicken wing or Thai rice bowl or something. And a lot of times the thing that makes that thing Thai is peanut sauce.
Really?
Like if you see a quote unquote Thai pizza at like a local pub or something like that, I can almost guarantee you they put peanut sauce on it.
The splash of peanut sauce, bam, Thai food.
Yeah, and the Thai chicken wings come up a lot too in restaurants, and it's almost guaranteed. I'm willing to put money on it. The Thai chicken wings is fried chicken wings tossed in nam tim kai, in that sweet chili sauce, because that's another thing that's ubiquitous here in North America is the bottled sweet chili sauce. You can find that at any grocery store, whether it's Asian or not. And I think that's another thing that people associate with Thai food is that it's sweet.
Well, I do see a lot of sugar being thrown on dishes, and I watched my mother-in-law make a bowl of noodles the other day, and she put 2 heaping tablespoons of sugar in a bowl of noodles. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But and that's something that comes up a lot here with foreigners is that how much sugar is in Thai food. And not only that, but sugar that you don't notice, you don't think is there, but it's there.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary, I think.
Do you feel like it's gotten sweeter over the years that you've been in Thailand?
Certainly got more expensive. I don't know, to be honest. I think I eat too fast to really notice. But it certainly hasn't not gotten sweeter.
I feel like it has. Every time I go back, I feel like generally Thai food and restaurants tend to be sweeter than it used to be. I think the sugar is getting a little over the top. I always talk about Thai food as being a balance of sweet, salty, sour, and spicy. And the sweet, I think, is getting a little bit too emphasized for whatever reason. It's certainly true of Thai restaurants in Canada. It's one of the reasons why I don't go to Thai restaurants here, because it's inevitably too sweet, always too sweet. And I think it started out as being Thai restaurants think that the sweet would help mellow the spice for people who can't handle spice. And there is some truth to that in a sense that like things that are sweeter, the spiciness tends to be a little more subdued. And so I think they kind of take that to the extreme, and now it's just become the expectation that Thai food is supposed to be that sweet, and it's too sweet. And so when I make my own food, I put sugar as a balancing ingredient.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which is very different from putting sugar to make something sweet.
Right.
So if you just say make a bowl of noodles and you don't put any sugar at all, you just put the salt, it'll be fine, but it'll seem a little bit like one-dimensionally salty, but with a little touch of sugar to a point where you don't even taste the sweetness necessarily, but it rounds out the edges of the salt, and it just creates a more delicious experience overall. And I think in most dishes, that's the role that sugar should play. There are some dishes, of course, where the sweetness is the main flavor, and in that case, then it is what it is, but it doesn't have to be this ocean of sweetness all across our dishes.
An ocean of sweetness in my pad thai. Yeah.
Pad thai is the worst when it comes to sweetness. I've ordered pad thai in Thai restaurants and I can't even eat it. It's like soaking in syrup.
I'll tell you what, I hate pad thai. It's so gross here. It's just, first of all, we actually did an entire show on this last season about how pad thai was created as a national dish by a military dictator in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And I was just actually happened to be on Khao San Road earlier tonight. Don't ask why I had to go down there. I didn't really want to go down there. But it's just everyone is eating these bowls of soupy, glutinous, disgusting, oversugared pad thai, not to mention scorpions on sticks. And I look around, I'm like, no one eats those.
Well, any food on Khao San Road is as good as like Thai food overseas, I think. And I think that's the thing, like the people on Khao San Road are trying to make it. They're having the same mentality, is let's make this in a way that foreigners are going to like it
Right.
in our own country, which is the most bizarre thing.
Yeah, going to visiting Khao San Road and saying you've been to Thailand is like eating at a Thai restaurant overseas and saying you appreciate Thai food, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, let me just talk about your videos a little bit. How do you get inspiration from them? Do you come back here for ingredients? Do you get hints from your family about what to cook, or how do you decide what you want to show people?
It comes from everything. I have a long list in my phone of dishes that I want to make, and it is a combination of people's requests, of something my mom would line me and be like, you should make this. or all of a sudden I just get a craving for something, or sometimes I hit like a writer's block type thing and I just browse my cookbook library or I browse the internet for ideas, and it just comes to me. You know, I have over 400 videos now.
Wow.
On the website, and I kept waiting for the day I would run out of dishes, the day I would run out of ideas, and it hasn't even come close. I still have a long list. I think it's really, doing this has really opened my eyes to how vast Thai cuisine really is. It's essentially limitless. I mean, because I can keep coming up with new things, which I do too. Sometimes I make things that is not an existing dish, but I think it's delicious. So I make something up and I put it out. And that's how people cook in Thailand as well. And this is another thing I try to emphasize in my cookbook especially, is there isn't like a set of dishes that make up Thai cuisine and that's the end of it.
Okay.
Right? Like people, when they're cooking at home, when they're cooking at restaurants, they're coming up with new dishes. They're coming up with new ideas. Every dish that you know of right now was once invented, was once new. So don't be afraid to, do something different, try something new. And that's what I do in my videos sometimes too. And I think it frees people from this sort of fear of bastardizing the cuisine, the fear of, oh, but this is not authentic and stuff like that. And it sort of stops them from trying.
Right. But you do have to be careful, because otherwise you're going to end up with tom kha gai with mushroom soup.
See, where I kind of draw the line is ingredients. Is if you're using Thai ingredients and you're sort of respecting the sort of the flavor profile that Thai cuisine has, that makes people love it so much, you can't really go wrong, right? Like, but if you start throwing ketchup and cream of mushroom soup in things, or peanut butter, which people are surprised that peanut butter is not a thing that we have, right?
Who cooks Thai food with peanut butter?
Every Thai restaurant in Canada.
What?
Oh yeah, all the peanut sauce here is made using peanut butter with creamy peanut butter.
Oh
And I
my
had to
God.
explain to people that, when I was little, my dad brought peanut butter back from the States. And I was like, what is that? And he says, peanut butter. And I said, I didn't know peanuts could be made into butter. Like, this is fascinating. And meanwhile, over in North America, they're throwing peanut butter in Thai food because they think we use it. Um,
Oh,
and so I try to explain to people, when Thai people use peanuts, we grind it until it's sort of grainy and mealy and we keep the texture. It never gets to the point where it's that sort of smooth, oily paste. Nothing wrong with peanut butter. I love peanut butter, but I'm just saying it's not.
yeah, there's a time and
That's
place
not
for peanut
how
butter.
peanuts are used in Thai cuisine. The bigger point being, you can feel free to create as long as you're respecting the ingredients and the general flavor that makes Thai cuisine so well loved.
Well said. Well
Mm-hmm.
said. Well, I'll tell you what, it goes both ways because I was out the other night and I saw a durian pizza here. And,
Oh,
I'm not in a hurry to try that.
really? Was it supposed to be sweet or savory?
I don't know. I
don't
looked
even
away
know.
like, my eyes, my eyes. It was at the pizza company, which has never shied away from trying to mash
Really?
up two
Oh,
things. Yeah.
interesting. Durian pizza. The durian craze is kind of going nuts now. Hey, like people are putting durian in everything now.
In Canada.
Well, in Thailand. I'm talking about in Thailand. I feel like last time I went back, there was all these durian creations left, right, and center.
Like durian pizza. Well, like this is the old saying, like just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Right. Although I did have a durian curry, which was not bad, but it was underripe durian.
Oh,
They use underripe durian, which doesn't have that much smell yet, and it's quite firm and crunchy.
oh, wow. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's always something to discover.
Yes.
Last question. This might drive you mental, but what is your favorite Thai dish?
I was just thinking about this the other day, and if there was one dish that I could eat, like my last meal type dish,
Yeah.
shrimp paste fried rice, khao kuk kapi.
Really?
Yeah,
All right.
you know it, right?
I know it. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the shrimp paste. I'm not a big fish guy, but
I love it. I just had a craving and I made it the other day. It's a ton of work, but oh, it was so worth it. Yeah, I just keep coming back to it, and it's just such a combination of flavors. Like it's got everything. It's got the sweet, salty, sour, and the funk. I love shrimp paste, and it's fresh and comforting at the same time. I don't know what it is about shrimp paste fried rice, but if I had to choose one dish to eat like before I die, this could be it, or it would be my grandmother's khao man gai.
you can't go wrong with a good khao man gai.
Khao man gai is always good. Like there's not a time when I wouldn't want a khao man gai right now.
Yeah, there's some great stuff around here. Just the old cart. Doesn't have to be fancy. And just they put out a little plate with a little spice on top. Oh, it's such good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Pailin, thanks for coming on the show and chatting a little bit. Where can people find you if they want to search out your channel online?
Well, they can go on YouTube and look up Hot Thai Kitchen. So my videos will come up. And they can go to hotthaikitchen.com for my website. My social media handles are all Hot Thai Kitchen. So Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you Google Hot Thai Kitchen, I will come up.
Right on. Well, thanks again for coming on. It was great to sort of get a little bridge between cultures there and hear what's going on back in Canada.
Yeah.
Give me a call if you're ever back in Thailand. I'll buy you a hamburger.
Oh, thank you. A durian hamburger, maybe?
Oh, who knows? I might get crazy.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks. So some really interesting insights there. It's funny. It's so funny that she's just like the peanut sauce question makes her so angry. Like foreigners think that if you put peanut sauce on a little bit of Asian food, it automatically becomes Thai.
Right. That was funny.
So after we recorded our interview, actually, I saw a really interesting article, and it was called "The Surprising Reason That There Are So Many Thai Restaurants in America." And now, essentially, the article laid out that the Thai government pays restaurants to open up, or at least help support a lot of entrepreneurs open up Thai restaurants overseas. It's kind of a form of soft propaganda, I guess. It's not unusual. It's not a bad thing, but it does seem to be gaming the system a little bit. So I asked Pai what she thought, and she wrote me an email, and this is what she said. She said, "There's no doubt that the government is working hard to promote Thai food. I have worked with them myself to produce educational videos on Thai food products. I think the government's efforts certainly helped, but the article left out the fact that regardless of government support, the business owners still have to want to open a restaurant in the first place, as opposed to, say, a pet store. So why do Thai immigrants see restaurants as a business of choice? There are several reasons, but here are two. One, Thai food is something that they already are familiar with, so they don't have to learn everything from zero. And many Thais start their lives overseas anyway by working in restaurants, so they might even know how to run one by the time they are ready to start their own. And two, running a Thai restaurant doesn't require one to speak a lot of English, which is a barrier to entry for many other types of business." And she finishes it off by saying, "And this is why you get so many not great Thai restaurants overseas, because the people who start them are not chefs, nor are they necessarily passionate about Thai food. Sometimes they're just immigrants trying to make a living, and the fact that there is government support just makes it even easier for them to get into. When a restaurant is run by an owner who is actually passionate about sharing Thai food with the world, it always shows in the food, and those are the places that I go to."
Just to give my immediate reaction, I'm actually quite shocked that the Thai government does that. If someone asked me, I would think the Thai government would not be that proactive. So I'm kind of fascinated that they do this. I mean, more power to them. I think it's part of a government's job to market themselves to the world, and and I love Thai food. So hats off to the Thai government for actually doing something like this.
Yeah, I'd never really heard of anything like this before, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised at all, because this seems like something that, like a country's Ministry of Culture or Ministry of Foreign Affairs would be right on top of. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing.
I'm just surprised I'm really surprised they had the budget for it. I mean, honestly, for example, it's like I've read stories of how like Thai athletes like preparing for the Olympics have no money and no support from the Thai government. I'm not an expert on that, but I've just read about how the Thai government a lot of times doesn't support Thai culture in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of areas they don't support that they should. That could probably be said about a lot of governments, I think. But yeah, I just thought it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, like, there's a line, like, you don't want to just flood the market and then you have just a ton of crappy Thai restaurants, and then it dilutes the entire show. You know what I mean?
That's true too. So, I mean, I guess she made a good point that even just because you have government support, it doesn't actually mean that you have people who are truly passionate about Thai food.
Exactly. And I guess the bottom line is that not all Thai restaurants are equal. So if you find one you like, then more power to you. But there's probably some behind the scenes intrigue going on there.
No doubt. Well, now it's time for everyone's favorite segment of the show, Love, Loathe, or Leave, where one of us surprises the other with a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or hate so much that it makes us want to leave forever. This week, it is my turn. So I gave this some thought, and it's kind of a big topic, and I thought this would be an interesting question for Greg, because he's kind of a family man. He's kind of settled, and so I'm curious if this affects him or what he thinks about it. So,
all right, lay it on me.
What I want to talk about is closing times for bars and restaurants. They seem to impact expats in a lot of ways, and I've got my strong opinion about them, and I'm curious what you think, Greg.
That's a good question, man. I'm of two minds. The family man in me, and which is also sort of tied to the non-drinking, non-partying person that I just sort of am anyway. I don't really care. I think it's fine. Like, if you want to shut down a business by 11 p.m. or midnight, fine by me. I'm in bed by that time anyway. I think it's a good way to keep a lid on things, and especially when you're dealing with a place that's seen as an outlet for partying. It can't be a free-for-all. There has to be a limit. So apparently that limit is midnight.
So this is the family man talking.
This is the family man talking. So I love it. I love it. As long as there's less drunken foreigners stumbling home at 3 a.m. past my condo, I'm all for that. But the realist in me, which we all know that family man and realist are two different things, are I mean, if Thailand is seen as a destination for partying and good fun and out nightlife and stuff like that, so midnight does seem a little bit excessive to be shutting things down. But I mean, I grew up in a place where bars closed at 2, and that was always fine. No one ever questioned whether that was inappropriate or not. So I think midnight might be a little bit early, but overall, I would say I love the midnight closing times. Yeah, I'd say if your enjoyment of Thailand is so wrapped up into staying out drinking past midnight, then you're probably here for the wrong reason.
Well, I see your point, and and I'm wondering how much of that comes from being a family man, having a kid, because I hate the closing times, and I'm really not a big partier. I never was that big of one, and I'm older. Whatever. I'm not a big partier, but I do love going out to listen to live music. And
right.
Every time the band has to stop at midnight, it drives me crazy. I mean, I'm an adult. It's like all the members of the band are adults, and do I want the bars to open up all night? It doesn't have to be all night, but it drives me crazy when the government is telling me what time I have to go home. I think it's wrong on principled grounds. I don't think the government should act like a nanny. But in my particular case, it's not to stay out drinking, although I might be drinking, but it's just because I'm having fun. And it's like I'll be listening to live music. The band is on fire. The crowd is loving it. And it's just like, I just want them to keep playing. And it's like, they've got to wrap it up. And I don't get it. I don't agree with it. And it's really, I understand your point about Thailand's reputation, which seems, in a way, the closing times go against the reputation for it being like a late night, destination. So, but in my case, it doesn't matter where I was. If I was in the middle of Iowa, I'd be pissed if the government made the bar close at midnight.
Yeah, I can see that. It's not necessarily all about getting blottoed and wasted. It's sometimes legitimate, artistic pursuits, like for listening to live music. So yeah, I can see your point too. So I would say you're solidly in the loathe category.
Yes.
And I'm in the love category with a few reservations, I guess.
Well, I'm curious what our listeners have to say, because I do think that a lot of maybe early expats, especially if they're younger, they might be partying more. But I'm wondering if long-term expats tend to agree more with you than they agree with me.
Well, let's do a poll, listeners. Contact the show, bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. Who do you agree with, Ed or me? So let's see what's going on here.
Yes.
The winner will buy the other guy a Big Mac meal. How's that?
Sounds fair.
Wait, you're a vegetarian. Okay. How about the winner will buy the other guy a meal? We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, that sounds good. And a big thanks to all of those who support the show on Patreon and via other means. If you want to learn more about keeping the Bangkok Podcast up and running, head over to bangkokpodcast.com/support and see what you can see. And if you want to get in touch with us, we are at Bangkok Podcast on Facebook and Twitter. Or you can send us a message via the contact form on bangkokpodcast.com, where we'll probably get back to you fairly quickly.
You can also find us online, where we post each episode and carry on conversations with our listeners. And you can also reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thank you for listening, everyone, and we will see you next week on the Bangkok Podcast. I tell you, man, every Songkran, it's like I want to keep my aircon bill low this month, and then I try to go as long as I can without turning on the aircon, and then after a while I'm like, you know what, the hell with it, I'll pay whatever it's worth. I need my apartment cool.